Welcome back. In a health alert, poison control centers from across the country are telling ABC News they recorded the highest number of cases of Teflon flu, yes, named after your pan, in 2023 since the year 2000, so going back 23 years. Teflon flu is caused by overheating pans, severely overheating pans coated with PTFE coating, which we call Teflon, which releases fumes into the air. We breathe them and get sick.
Yeah, if you breathe those in, you're probably going to start feeling flu-like symptoms.
So the big question is, how can we keep ourselves safe from this? Joining us to discuss is ABC News medical correspondent Dr. Darian Sutton. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you breaking this down because I don't spend much time in the kitchen. I don't know anything about Teflon, so I didn't know that this was a thing. First and foremost, what are the symptoms that we're watching out for?
And so the symptoms can look very much like an infection. We're talking about flu, fevers and chills, cough, chest tightness, and unlike an infection, they'll often resolve on their own without any needed treatment or intervention. But why is this happening? So when these Teflon or non-stick pans are at very high temperature, they can release those chemicals that you said. We call them PFEs for short. They're those forever chemicals. Now, it seems as though that causes this acute short-term infection or symptoms, and it seems to be self-resolving. But what's concerning is that when we see these in higher levels in the environment, that's associated with problems with your thyroid, increased rates of certain cancers like kidney cancer, and even problems with fertility. So it's important to be safe when using these products.
Yeah.
It's alarming because you can die from the flu. Can you die from this, or does it go away in a couple days?
You know, I do not.
And what do we do?
The risk of death, I think, is very limited to none. Most of these cases, which are reported to the Poison Control Center, why we've seen more than 250 cases this past year, the highest number we've seen since 2000. Most of these will go away on their own. The problem is that we do not know the long-term effects. So when you're using these pans, so many of us have them at home. I think the first thing is check your pans at home. If they're having rust or scratches, or if you've had it longer than 3 or 5 years, you probably should replace it. I don't know about you guys, but when I use my pans, there's the same pans that I had when I moved in.
Yeah.
Yes, I used mine last night.
We don't realize that that is something that can become a harm and a danger, and you want to make sure you turn on that ventilation.
Well, you have your favorite pan, and you keep using it. I'm curious, is there responsibility, you think, from these companies that release these pans to inform people better? Because I just put it on there, I put it on high heat, and I just cook. Not knowing that if I put it on for 500 degrees or so, that it can start releasing some of these toxins.
You know, I think that a lot of the warnings are actually in the small print. The problem is that who reads the small print on a pan? And so when you're using these pans, you want to avoid that high heat. I'd be cautious over 400 degrees. You don't want to put these pans on the broil setting in your oven, because that also in scientific studies shows to release these chemicals. And then when you're using the pan, if you're using metal, you want to avoid that. That can scratch the pan and it can end up in your breakfast. And so you want to, again, using it safely, avoiding high heat, and don't preheat an empty pan. That increases the risk of burning.
If you feel you have these symptoms, what's your first step? Calling your doctor?
First step, call your doctor, but really first step, get away from the source. Turn off the pan, open up the windows, turn on the ventilation. Again, this will often go away on its own, but many people don't know that their symptoms are associated with what they just cooked.
I would have no idea.
This awareness is so important.
So instead of that, we want to use like a stainless steel pan. I'm getting rid of mine today. It's old. It's old.
And
it is
I
old.
think that's a completely viable option.
Parchment paper.
Yeah, I would opt for stainless steel,
oil,
cast iron. When I moved into my first apartment, my dad gave me one cast iron pan, and that pan is the kind of pan you can pass on in generation.
You could be a cowboy.
Yeah, exactly, but most people don't know that these non-stick pans, the lifespan is about 3 to 5 years. So after that time, you want to get rid of it.
Like,
so check
I've had
your
mine
kitchen.
since college, so that's more than 5 years.
Check your kitchen cabinet.